Chapter 42 Uchiha Tajima directs and performs his own drama. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No, his eyes told me that he was betrayed. Uchiha Yao almost said this through gritted teeth. And the person who betrayed him was his most trusted brother-in-law, Uchiha Tajima, that his father was killed by his cousin. This news was even more exciting than knowing that his father was a super genius, and it made him take a breath of cold air. If I hadn't later discovered the scene recorded in Jin's eyes before he died, I wouldn't have believed that Uchiha Tajima, who cried so much at the funeral that he almost fainted, could be such a despicable person, Uchiha Yao said angrily. When you were 8 years old, your parents led a team to carry out a beheading mission. Unexpectedly, the other party was prepared and set up a dragnet. In the end, your father led Chin's mother and Uchiha Tajima to fight their way out, and they were about to escape. When you were born, Uchiha Tajima seriously injured your father, which caused your father to be chased by the enemy. Your mother did not want to leave your father behind, and they both died in love. Uchiha Yao slowly told the truth about the death of the original owner's parents. These images exist in King's eyes. Uchiha Jin's body was later collected, and it was his father Uchiha Yao who performed the autopsy. Uchiha Yao sensed something was wrong from the remaining pupil power in his son's eyes, so he reluctantly temporarily removed the eyes and took them back to the research institute for study. One day many years later, he saw the above picture from his son's Sharingan eyes. My son is a genius. And you, my grandson, you are a peerless genius even more powerful than your father. Uchiha Yao turned his eyes, and after a slight struggle at the corner of his eye, his black single eye flashed with an inexplicable light, looking straight at Uchiha Jin, and said with certainty. Uchiha Jin was a little confused when he was suddenly mentioned. Didn't he know about the original owner Taka? A peerless genius, a peerless beat, right? You old man must have recognized the wrong person. Seeing his grandson's face full of disbelief, Uchiha Yao continued. When Uchiha Tajima told you the news that your parents were killed in battle, you opened the Sharingan when you were only 8 years old. Uchiha Jin felt that his brain was not enough. Wasn't he the one who opened the original owner's Sharingan? And it's the most powerful of the Uchiha clan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha's words were astonishing. Uchiha Jin's brain immediately shut down. At this time, he wished he could slap himself a few times and ask him where such a big kaleidoscope had gone. Uchiha Tajima witnessed the birth of your Mangekyo Sharingan. From that time on, he has been eyeing you. Uchiha Yao ignored Uchiha Jin's change of expression and continued. Besides, you weren't the only one with kaleidoscope at that time. Uchiha Yao had a look of nostalgia on his face. There is another child, just like you. Who is it? The hidden photo flashed through Uchiha Jin's mind. She is your neighbor's child. Her parents are members of the team who died together with your parents. The child was extremely emotionally unstable after awakening to kaleidoscope. People at the institute called her Wuming. Uchiha Yao didn't know much about the other child's family. Since you two are too young to control the power of the kaleidoscope, the old patriarch at the time appointed me to take care of you and conduct research on the kaleidoscope technique at the same time. Uchiha Yao seemed to recall happy times, and a smile appeared on the corner of his cold mouth. Originally, you two children were very happy in the institute, but 2 years later. Uchiha Yao changed the topic and his expression turned cold. The old patriarch passed away due to illness, and the clan was leaderless. At that time, Uchiha Yen, the leader of the martial arts faction, and Uchiha Miao, the second-in-command of the research institute, publicly recommended Uchiha Tajima to take over as the clan leader, and advocated that Uchiha Tajima marry the daughter of the previous clan leader. Wife, I also voted in favor without knowing the truth. I didn't expect that the first thing Uchiha Tajima did when he took office was to let Uchiha Miao take my place and transfer me to other departments to do research. Since that day, I haven't seen you two for a long time. During this period, I asked Uchiha Miao, but I was rejected. He told me that you were conducting secret experiments and could not go out easily. Regarding the experience mentioned by Uchiha Yao, Uchiha Jin thought carefully and discovered with great horror that there was no trace of the so-called research institute in the memory of the original owner, only the memory of the young Uchiha Tajima adopting him as his own. For a moment, he couldn't tell who was lying and who was telling the truth. "Do you think I'm cheating on you?" Uchiha Yao, who saw Uchiha Jin's confusion, said calmly. "Yes, if what you said is true, then why do I only have images of Uchiha Tajima accompanying me when I grew up?" Uchiha Jin asked. "Then your memory and even cognition have been tampered with." Uchiha Yao shook his head and said. "Uchiha Tajima's pupil technique. Another god." The Hanekyu Sharingan's unique genjutsu is known as the most powerful genjutsu. You can directly invade the opponent's brain and modify the opponent's will without being discovered by the opponent. The effect of this technique is extremely powerful, allowing the opponent to be controlled unconsciously, and victory can be won without any dispute, but each use requires a cooling time of more than 10 years. With an appropriate expression of doubt, Uchiha Yao explained. Uchiha Tajima also turned on the kaleidoscope at some point. His pupil technique can modify a person's memory and even will. He used that technique on you, so your memory will be biased. The original owner actually ate a shot of other gods. Uchiha Jin was shocked that this illusion that would be blown up in the future actually existed now, but thinking about it, during the Warring States period, there were many people in the Uchiha clan who opened the kaleidoscope. In the future, the most powerful illusion Tianjin spread in the ninja world will be known to the third Hokage and others, and it must be recorded. What exactly happened when I was in the institute? Uchiha Jin couldn't help but ask. When I was here, I was just studying why you all awakened the kaleidoscope at the same time. Uchiha Yao replied. I found that you and the nameless Sharingan are very compatible. I speculate that it should be caused by the mutual attraction when the power of the eyes moves, and it also has a lot to do with the deep relationship between the two of you. What happens after that Wuming and that what Uchiha Jin is more concerned about is what research Uchiha Miao did on them after Uchiha Yao was kicked out of the team. I don't know. I tried to contact you while you were imprisoned, but were blocked by Uchiha Tajima and others. Not long after, I found that you appeared at Uchiha Tajima's house, but you were nowhere to be seen. Until 6 years ago, that happened to the family. Uchiha Yao talked for so long and finally mentioned the tragedy in the clan 6 years ago. Is it the Kagaya clan's sneak attack on the clan? Uchiha Jin recalled the memory of the original owner and expressed his guess. How is that possible? It's just Kagaya. Uchiha Yao was very disdainful of the Kagaya clan. Those who have no brains are just being deceived. What's the meaning? Hearing the deception, Uchiha Jin's curiosity was aroused again. Uchiha Tajima sent someone disguised as a wandering ninja to send a piece of information to the Kagaya clan who fled to the Kingdom of Water. What information? The Uchiha clan is empty, come quickly. Uchiha Yao said something horrifying in a deep voice. For the sake of prestige, Uchiha Tajima actually lured the Kagaya clan to attack his hometown, preparing for the divine soldiers to descend from the sky and save the clan members from the fire and water. Is Uchiha Tajima strong enough, that the blood successors of the Kagaya clan were able to restrain the Uchiha clan, which was relatively weak in physical skills, to a certain extent? How did Uchiha Tajima, who had not yet reached the peak of his growth at the time, deal with the Kagaya clan who was eyeing the whole group? The two weapons he mastered were his greatest confidence at the time. Uchiha Yao's cold tone made the air around him turn hoarfrost, making Uchiha Jin tremble slightly. Chapter 43: A Bond Beyond Blood Ties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Weapons, round fan. When Uchiha Jin heard this word, the first thing that popped into his mind was the flame round fan enshrined in Uchiha Tajima's house. He knew that thing had the ability to use wind escape to control fire escape ninjutsu and rebound, but it only improved some combat power. If Uchiha Tajima used this thing as a trump card, it would be too embarrassing. Weapons are not necessarily ninja tools, just like our Uchiha clan, the strongest weapon is always this. Uchiha Yao shook his head to deny Uchiha Jin's guess, and then pointed to his eyes with his fingers. Uchiha Jin, who knew that the world of Naruto was ultimately based on the theory of bloodline, nodded in agreement. That means that Uchiha Tajima's weapon is 2 pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Yao nodded in approval. Yes, it's you and Wuming. At the same time, in the building of the Uchiha clan leader, several figures in the clan leader's office were having a secret meeting. Clan leader, Uchiha Ryukage has already tortured the Sarutobi clan to find out the sealed place. The chubby Uchiha Yen lowered his head, his tone panicked with a hint of pride. Can you confirm the authenticity? Uchiha Tajima, who closed his eyes and rested, asked coldly. Absolutely no problem. Uchiha Yen patted his chest and assured. Elder Miao, has the control device been made? Uchiha Tajima nodded and was satisfied with Uchiha Yen's news, then turned his head and asked Uchiha Miao on the other side. The control device that integrates multiple sealing techniques has been tested. The thin and withered Uchiha Miao also lowered his head and replied slowly. Okay. This time, we must not repeat the same mistakes. Our Uchiha clan will eventually rule the entire warring states. After listening to the reports of the two, Uchiha Tajima slowly opened his closed eyes, and a pair of pupils with strange patterns slowly flowed, exuding a suffocating pressure. Is the old guy Uchiha Yao still obedient now? Uchiha Tajima looked at Uchiha Yen, who was like an ostrich, with a domineering look. He is reading and writing all day now, studying some old topics, and there is no abnormal behavior. Wipe the sweat on his head, Uchiha Yen reported truthfully, panting. Alas, we are master and disciple after all. As long as he doesn't do anything out of line again, we will release him after the matter is done. Uchiha Tajima's eyes dimmed for a moment, and then he spoke. The clan leader is merciful. Uchiha Yen and Uchiha Miao said loudly. In dungeon number 0. Uchiha Yao and Uchiha Ien sat opposite each other. Uchiha Yao said with pity and grief. The despicable Uchiha Tajima, after years of brainwashing experiments, has completely lost your independent consciousness and turned you and Wuming into chess pieces at his disposal. And after Uchiha Miao's experimental research, you and Wuming's Mangekyo have a strong fit, and when you cooperate with her pupil technique, it is a 1+12 bonus. After saying so much, what exactly is the ability of our Mangekyo? Uchiha Ien, who had been holding back for a long time, couldn't help but ask. Since he learned that the original owner once had a Mangekyo Sharingan, he was very curious about what its ability was. Your right eye is the flame of Amaterasu, which hosts the strongest flame in the legend. Uchiha Yao said with reminiscence. He touched his right eye subconsciously, thinking that he could activate Amaterasu with just 2 Magatama. He thought it was a system plug-in, but he didn't expect that he had it himself, and he activated it with practice. Since the right eye is Amaterasu, then the left eye, could it be? Recalling the tragic experiences after crossing, Uchiha Jin subconsciously covered his chrysanthemum. Your left eye can release the strongest mental attack of the Uchiha clan, Illusion Tsukuyami. Sure enough, his Mangekyo is exactly the same as the future filial son. No wonder these skills are always refreshed when skills are refreshed. He recalled the rules of refreshing skills in the backyard. Tsukuyami and Amaterasu are because the original owner has them, so the probability of refreshing them is much higher than other skills, and it can even be said to be accurate refresh, and the strange power is not refreshed for no reason. On the day when the strange power was refreshed, Uzumaki Mido, a member of the Uzumaki clan, used the strange power. In addition, the system rewarded him with a trace amount of vortex blood, which made the skill refreshed that night change to strange power. It seems random, but in fact, everything has a traceable path. Uchiha Jin touched his chin and began to think about how to reasonably use this rule to make the skills refreshed by the system more practical. Your Mangekyo is the most destructive physical attack and illusion, which is an extremely handy sword in Uchiha Tajima's eyes. Uchiha Yao said in a deep voice. And the nameless Mangekyo. Hearing that Uchiha Yao was going to talk about another Mangekyo that was still there, Uchiha Jin quickly gathered his thoughts and listened carefully. One of the nameless Mangekyo is an amplification ability called Kagutsuchi no Mikoto, which can control the flames to change into various forms for attack and defense at will. Kagutsuchi no Mikoto. The eye technique of the future two pillars Mangekyo, combined with Amaterasu, can be more flexible and changeable while increasing the damage. The nameless Kagome Earth Life seems to have been born for your Amaterasu. The Fire Release Kagome Earth Life, you two use together is like a death scythe that harvests lives on the battlefield. Uchiha Yao's eyes were slightly crazy when he looked at them, but they were also filled with a sense of satisfaction that he couldn't understand. Then what is the other pupil technique? Watching Uchiha Yao talk eloquently, Uchiha Jin interrupted him with a voice. When Uchiha Yao heard his grandson's impatient voice, he almost couldn't catch his breath. He took a deep breath, didn't care about his junior, and started to continue. Another Wuming pupil technique is called 8,000 spears. 8,000 spears. He has heard of all the few kaleidoscope abilities that have appeared in future plots. But Uchiha Jin had never heard of this ability. Seeing Uchiha Jin's confused and urging eyes, Uchiha Yao looked embarrassed and remained silent for a long time before explaining. The ability of the 8,000 spears is very special. It can give a mark to other people. As long as there is a mark on the body, it can control the person's spirit and chakra at will through the connection. At first glance, Uchiha Jin felt that this 8,000 spears ability was a control skill. He could control the enemy while absorbing mana, and it could be used in single combat and group fights. It was not weak, but it was not very strong either. Do you think this ability is not outstanding? Seeing that Uchiha Jin had a slight contempt for the ability of the 8,000 spears, Uchiha Yao spoke. Uchiha Jin, who was seen through, nodded without denying that this skill must have more stringent prerequisites to achieve, otherwise, the owner can imprint whoever he wants according to his ideas, and everyone will be hypnotized into a power bank. That would not be invincible, just like the infinite Tsukimi of Kagaya Otsutsuki, the big boss in the next 4 battles. Just like this, he was thinking wildly. As he thought more and more, Uchiha Jin started to sweat. He swallowed the astringent saliva in his mouth. He raised his head and looked at the old man in front of him. His voice was slightly asked tremblingly. Can the 8,000 spear be used with my Tsukimi? Uchiha Yao nodded and said solemnly. That's right, when the nameless 8,000 spears are blessed on your Tsukimi, it will pull the red moon in your illusion space into reality and mark the person enveloped by the moonlight. We call this skill Sealed Monthly Reading. Chapter 44. The more I look at Wang Liang, the more familiar he looks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Isn't this a simplified version of unlimited monthly reading? As the leader of the 8,000 spears, Wuming can not only mentally control the opponent, but also endlessly absorb the chakra of the person who is imprinted with it. Isn't this what makes you invincible? Uchiha Jin asked doubtfully. Since there are 2 such powerful weapons, why did Uchiha Tajima fail? After all his tricks, he still didn't realize that I had already seen through his conspiracy. Uchiha Yao touched the gray beard on his chin and said proudly. I broke the seal left in the Sharingan of that kid, Kin, and saw the scene recording the murder of Uchiha Tajima. Uchiha Yao said in a sad tone. The moment I saw Kim die, my pain was at its peak, so I. Awakening eyes full of resentment. Following Uchiha Yao's words, his only remaining eyeball slowly turned red, and the black magatama in the middle finally turned into an equilateral triangle with a hollow middle. Uchiha Yao actually awakened the kaleidoscope. Looking at the unfamiliar pattern in his eyes, the uncertain Uchiha Jin asked cautiously. Your kaleidoscope power is? My kaleidoscope ability is called. Uchiha Yao did not hide anything and explained. My kaleidoscope produces a shadow clone, which is the incarnation of my will and has a certain degree of self-awareness. Because it is made of shadows, it can be said to be an incorporeal clone. I call it a shadow clone. The more Uchiha Jin heard, the more something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. Anyway, his head was itching and he felt like he was growing a brain. Is that the old jailer? That's right. No wonder the opponent can sneak into the shadows and ignore physical attacks. It turns out that he does not belong to the category of human beings, but is the product of Uchiha Yao's Mangekyo Sharingan. With the introduction of Uchiha Yao, the strange old jailer in the darkness appeared again. There was still that chilling smile on his face, and his two gray eyes were looking straight at him. For some reason, Uchiha Jin was able to faintly sense a trace of hidden and profound malice in this old jailer. Wang Liang can conceal his own aura and sneak around. He can also attach himself to people and control their bodies to a certain extent. Uchiha Yao continued to explain, why is the smell getting stronger and stronger? When Uchiha Jin heard about this ability, he couldn't help but look at the old jailer from head to toe, but the other man remained unmoved, like an obedient puppet. After awakening the kaleidoscope, I immediately used the sword to lurk next to Uchiha Tajima, looking for your traces while passing on the conspiracy he planned. At that time, you had been brainwashed by Uchiha Tajima. I couldn't contact you, so I could only watch them conduct various experiments on you from a distance. Uchiha Yao said sadly again. Until one day, Wang Liang from the Surveillance Research Institute passed me a piece of news about you. Uchiha Jin was full of curiosity about this matter. He had been brainwashed, and what else could happen? When Uchiha Miao was checking your health, he found that your body functions began to decline, especially the vision in both eyes began to plummet. Isn't this a common problem with the Mangekyo Sharingan? In particular, this purely offensive Sharingan is used more frequently and lasts longer. In the original work, Uchiha Itachi didn't use it a few times, and his body became as weak as a pineapple. He became sick at the age of 21, and eventually drowned in the sea he released. Uchiha Miao immediately reported the situation. After Uchiha Tajima learned about it, he decided to wait until your body reaches its limit, dig out your Sharingan, and transplant the pupil technique to Wuming, who is very compatible with you. Uchiha said bitterly, almost breaking his teeth. The original owners were really miserable. After their parents died, they turned into kaleidoscopes. Instead of taking revenge, they were brainwashed by their enemies. They drained the value of their use and had their eyes gouged out. Of course I can't let them succeed. When they weren't paying attention, I ordered the two to possess you and wait for the right time to give Uchiha Tajima a big surprise. Uchiha Yao's eyes flashed with a crazy and violent aura. Uchiha Jin frowned when he heard this. Has he ever been possessed by this old jailer? In fact, he still maintained a skeptical attitude towards Uchiha Yao's words. The old man who called himself his grandfather did not seem to be as simple as he said. When the Kagaya clan is tricked into the clan and Uchiha Tajima manipulates you to start killing people, I will urge you to control your body, lift the seal in your brain, and start killing Uchiha Tajima's people. Launch an attack. Uchiha Yao said quietly. You didn't succeed, right? Uchiha Jin sighed and said, if he succeeded as Uchiha Yao said, Uchiha Tajima would not be alive until now, and he would not be imprisoned in this hidden dungeon. Yes, I still underestimated Uchiha Tajima. I never expected that there were 4 pairs of Mangekyo present at that time. Uchiha Yao said with regret. I failed. Uchiha Tajima's Sharingan can modify people's cognition. That special pupil technique that turns enemies into friends can tamper with your memory. I was powerless to fight against the 3 pairs of Mangekyo, and finally I could only regretfully lose, and was finally locked up in this dungeon. After telling the secrets of the past that he knew like a story, Uchiha Yao sighed, lowered his head inexplicably, and didn't know what expression to make. In Uchiha Tajima's office, Uchiha Yen and Uchiha Miao were busy preparing for their respective tasks and had already left. Uchiha Tajima sat alone in the position of the clan leader, his eyes closed as if he was asleep. Father. I overheard that my brother and that person agreed to meet by the river in 3 days. Uchiha Izuna, who was still in a hurry, rushed in and interrupted Uchiha Tajima's meditation. I know, I will take people there in 3 days. Uchiha Tajima, who was disturbed by his son, opened his eyes and looked at his lively son in front of him. His tiger eyes were full of love. He had 6 such lively children, including Uchiha Jin, who was not his own. Now, as long as he closed his eyes in the middle of the night, he was filled with the scene of his wife and children being slaughtered. The tragic situation of the clan kept him awake at night and also made him suffer from an unknown brain disease. Not knowing how much time he had left, Uchiha Tajima wanted to hand over a strong and united Uchiha clan to his son before he died, therefore, the sealed weapon must be in the hands of the Uchiha clan. The old clan leader handed over the two children who opened the Mangekyo to him, hoping that he, who was designated as the heir, would carefully train him to strengthen the family's power. I took good care of the two children. Especially among them, Uchiha Jin is the son of his sister, with whom he has a good relationship, and his father, Uchiha Kin, is his senior brother. Both of them were disciples of Uchiha Yao, who was extremely knowledgeable at the time. Thinking of his former teacher, Uchiha Tajima couldn't help but frown. His teacher was not only powerful, but also had unique research on the Uchiha clan, especially on the Sharingan, which was unmatched, but his personality was a bit weird. Uchiha Kin, as his son, did not get along well with him, and often broke up unhappily because of different ideas. Finally, there was a conflict of ideas on a certain research topic. From then on, the two stopped communicating until Uchiha Kin and his wife died. Not long after, because the old clan leader died of illness, Uchiha Tajima, who had just got married, took over the position of clan leader. Ah! The headache came again. Uchiha Tajima closed his eyes and massaged his temples, and his thoughts went back to more than 10 years ago. Chapter 45 The Original Owner's Extra Story, Childhood Sweetheart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 14 years ago, caressing his wife's bulging belly at home, young Uchiha Tajima was very happy. Let's call his first child Madara. At this time, there was a slow knock on the door. He opened the door in confusion. The person who came was actually his teacher Uchiha Yao, whom he had not seen for a long time. Teacher, you have been living in a quiet world these past few years. How come you have time to come to me today? Uchiha Tajima stretched out his hand to welcome him in. Tajima, ah no, Lord Patriarch. Uchiha Yao was ready to salute. Teacher, don't be so polite. I will always be your disciple in front of you. Uchiha Tajima quickly stopped the other party from saluting. The etiquette cannot be abolished. Well, the teacher doesn't go to the Three Treasures Hall for any reason. What's the matter? Unable to resist, Uchiha Tajima had no choice but to say. I gave away the white-haired man to the black-haired man. There is only one child left in Jin's family, Een. I hope to live with him and don't want this child to spend his childhood alone. Uchiha Yao raised his head, his two ink-like eyes as deep and dark as black holes. Uchiha Tajima looked embarrassed. These two boys and girls who had awakened a kaleidoscope were entrusted to him by the old patriarch himself, carrying a power that is beyond his age. If not guided, it will definitely become a time bomb. Sorry, teacher. Seeing Uchiha Tajima's struggle, Uchiha Yao showed an expected expression, his face softened and he continued. Then, let me join their research. I heard Uchiha Miao say that you are studying their Sharingan ability, and I should be able to help. In that case, let's trouble the teacher. Uchiha Tajima, knowing that he could not evade, had no choice but to agree. Moreover, Uchiha Yao's research on Sharingan was unparalleled in the clan. With his joining, it will be of great help to the two children in controlling their strength. After getting the answer he wanted, Uchiha Yao had no reason to stay any longer. He simply said goodbye and disappeared into the night. In the following years, Uchiha Yao joined the research of these two children, and gradually replaced Uchiha Miao as the leader of the experiment. At that time, Uchiha Tajima's wife just gave birth. As a new father, he couldn't get away from the trivial matters within the clan and the trivial matters at home. All the research work on the kaleidoscope of the two children fell to Uchiha Yao alone. But Uchiha Tajima was not defenseless. In addition to Uchiha Miao as his deputy, he also sent the loyal Uchiha Yen to guard the research institute and monitor Uchiha Yao's every move. Several years passed like this, and several of Uchiha Tajima's children were born successfully. Because of his status, Uchiha Jin could temporarily allow him to enter and leave Uchiha Tajima's mansion outside of experiments, while Wu Ming could not leave the research institute because of his 8,000 spear eye technique. Such peaceful days lasted until 6 years ago. What? Uchiha Yao proposed to train two children as war weapons. One day, Uchiha Tajima, who was correcting documents at his desk, raised his head in surprise, looked at the worried Uchiha Miao in front of him, and asked in disbelief. Yes, according to Uchiha Yao's research, he discovered that Uchiha Jin's kaleidoscope ability and the Nameless ability can complement each other. The Nameless pupil technique with Earth Life can control the strengthened Uchiha Jin's Amaterasu, and upgrade the Black Flame into a form-changing escape technique, which increases the lethality to a higher level. And Uchiha Jin's Tsukimi can help the Nameless 8,000 Spears group to mark the enemy. The 8,000 Spears absorb chakra and feed it back to Uchiha Jin's Tsukimi, making the two form a permanent motion. Uchiha Miao held this document in his hand and reported to Uchiha Tajima based on the experimental results. Uchiha Jin is his grandson, how can he do it? Uchiha Tajima asked in confusion. As the clan leader, he naturally knew the meaning of war weapons. It would be a cruel and inhumane torture. Those labeled as weapons would have to give up their identity as humans and live as weapons without self-thought. I don't know about this, but he has already begun to conduct experiments, starting with Wu-Ming. Uchiha Miao's haggard face had a hint of worry, and he knew very well the ability of the Nameless 8,000 Spears. Compared with Uchiha Jin's two purely combat-based pupil techniques, the unknown 8,000 Spears are too threatening. Mind control plus chakra absorption is a weapon for large-scale protracted battles. No. Ask him to stop the experiment immediately. You go take his place and comfort the two children first. Uchiha Tajima heard that Uchiha Yao had started testing war weapons without passing his instructions, and immediately ordered the other party to stop it. Yes, Miao Uchiha immediately set off to return after receiving the order. In the research institute, there were 2 beds in a white ward. The boy by the window was yawning boredly, not knowing that the nightmare was about to come. A ray of sunshine shone on his black curly hair, and his movements were filled with a lazy atmosphere. He turned his head to look at the slender girl on the other hospital bed and asked aloud. Xiaoguang, do you really don't want to go out? I can ask my uncle to take you out to play next time when I go out. Let me tell you, Quan Nai wet the bed a few days ago. Ha ha ha, I was beaten hard by my aunt. Tackled it hard. The curly-haired boy's smiling eyes narrowed together. As he spoke, he looked around pretending to be alert. After confirming that no one was around, he raised a hand to his mouth to make a trumpet shape and whispered. But I know that the sheets are actually Madara's. That boy is so bad. He bullied Azuna because he was young, so he framed him for bedwetting. After hearing what the young man said, the girl who closed her eyes to relax opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were full of helplessness. She rolled her eyes. The girl stood up and said. Don't tell me any more embarrassing stories about your brothers. I'm really not interested. As for going out, I have nothing to miss outside. It's good to stay here. Anyway, I have you. The girl whose parents are dead has no other relatives outside. Her only support now may be the boy in front of her. Thinking of this, the girl's eyes fell on the boy with a funny face who was trying to make her happy, and the conversation changed. Ian, if you are really bored, go find your grandpa. He has locked himself in the laboratory for several months. Are you really not worried about him? The girl thought of Uchiha Yao, whom she had not seen much recently, and mentioned it casually. Oh, why are you mentioning him? Every time he comes, we are asked to go to the laboratory for testing. He is so exhausted that he doesn't even give me a candy. In comparison, Grandpa Yen is better. He always gives me candy secretly. The young man's eyes drooped, showing a fish-like expression, and he madly complained about his grandfather. 8 years ago, 2 young children were brought to the research institute. At first, Uchiha Tajima often came to visit them, but later he heard that he had succeeded as the patriarch, and the frequency of his visits gradually became less and less. Uchiha Jin is okay and is taken back by him from time to time. Uchiha Hikaru is grounded in the research institute because his Sharingan is still unstable and his pupil control is immature. He is guarded by Uchiha Miao, who is thin, tall and has a cold face. After some time, a new old man with the same hairstyle as Uchiha Jin arrived. He claimed to be Uchiha Jin's biological grandfather. After taking over Uchiha Miao's job, he often played with his 2 children and left many children behind. Few photos. Chapter 46 The Original Owner's Extra. A young man's growth is always accompanied by setba. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, as the 2 children grew older and their bodies matured, they became more and more proficient in mastering the Sharingan. Uchiha Yao gradually began to focus on research and basically stopped having unnecessary communication with the 2 children. Eat sweet secretly again, so you won't be afraid of your teeth being eaten away by moths. I'm going to tell Grandpa Miao. Woo. The girls saw the boy secretly taking out a piece of candy from his bag and stuffing it into his mouth, and immediately warned him. However, before the words were spoken, the boy quickly stuffed another piece of candy into the girl's mouth. The girl who tasted the slightest sweetness felt the warmth of the boy's palm on her lips, and 2 powder puffs. Pooh's face turned red as if it was congested. If you eat my candy, you are mine, but you must not betray me. When the young man heard that she was going to report his violation, he had no choice but to take out his own inventory to bribe her. That's my man. In a panic, the girl who could only hear these few words clearly had her brain shut down on the spot. She was so embarrassed and angry that she fainted on the spot. Hey, why don't you speak? After getting no response from the girl for a long time, Uchiha Jin looked at the red and angry girl in front of him strangely. He took his hand away from the girl's mouth and found that. Ah! Why did you faint again? Recently, for some reason, the girl started to feel hot and red without even saying a few words to him. When he came near, the girl couldn't help but fainted for no reason. The first few times, he was frightened to the point of being helpless and called for help. Later, the number of times increased, and not only did no one care about him, but the eldest sister and aunt in the research institute even pointed at them and looked at them with the expression of someone who had been there before. He was confused. Before he could go out and call someone, the door to the ward was opened, and Uchiha Yao, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, pushed the door open and entered. Instead of his usual amiable expression, this time he had a cold look on his face. He frowned when he saw the unconscious girl and directed his men to push the girl out. He had obviously just done an experiment in the morning, so why did he come again now? The young man who felt something strange stepped forward to stop him. As a result, he was pushed away by Uchiha Yao. Looking at the strange grandfather in front of him in disbelief, Uchiha Jin jumped up and bared his teeth. Hey, where are you taking Xiao Guang? Uchiha Yao turned his head stiffly when he heard this. His pair of dark eyes were lifeless, and he stared at Uchiha Jin coldly for a long time, as if he was confirming something. Just listen to him say, there are new experiments, and I will ask you to go there later. The voice had no emotion at all, like a soulless robot. Grandfather, the look in Uchiha Yao's eyes made Uchiha Jin feel very strange. His eyes seemed to be looking at a product instead of his own grandson. This made Uchiha Jin feel palpitated and he quickly spoke. Hearing Uchiha Jin calling his grandfather in front of him, one of Uchiha Yao's eyes flashed with anger, and a gleam of light emitted from the dark pupil, but it was quickly swallowed up by darkness. Without stopping, he and his men left with the girl without looking back, leaving a stunned Uchiha Jin alone in the ward. However, after being stunned for only a moment, Uchiha Jin hurriedly ran out of the ward, ignoring the guards' obstruction, and ran towards Uchiha Miao's office. What? You said Grandpa Miao was sent out to search for clan documents. The young man who ran away panted and looked at Miao Uchiha's empty office, turned his head and said to the guard who blocked his entry. Yes, Elder Miao left yesterday. Before leaving, he said that this trip might take several days. The guard replied truthfully. He did not dare to show his true feelings to Uchiha Jin, who was the nephew of the Uchiha clan leader. This little ancestor could not be easily offended. All right. Uchiha Jin, who had no way to turn for help, thought of a chubby figure, turned around and ran towards the office of the guard department. What a coincidence. Elder Yen also went out yesterday. He said he was going to the dungeon to look for experimental bodies. He probably won't be able to come back today. The people from the security department informed him of Uchiha Yan's whereabouts. The 2 elders who were usually there were actually transferred away. How could there be such a coincidence? Uchiha Jin, who suddenly felt bad, decided to go out to find his uncle, but as soon as he reached the entrance of the research institute, he was stopped. Sorry, you are not allowed to go out starting today until you receive notification from above. The guard at the gate blocked the way. Looking at the unfamiliar guard in front of him, Uchiha Jin's sense of crisis became even stronger. The two elders were transferred away under pretext, and the guard at the gate was also changed, and he was not allowed to go out. Uchiha Jin, who was worried about the girl's safety, decided to go to Uchiha Yao and ask for details. In the laboratory at this time, the comatose girl slowly woke up and found that she was tied to a bed with several strange adult men standing around her. The girl was immediately startled and struggled hard, but to no avail. Instead, her hands and feet were strangled with blood-red marks by the belt. Who are you? What are you doing to capture me? Feeling unable to break free, the girl stared at the people in front of her and asked loudly, weapons, means you must have the awareness of weapons. One of the men said coldly. What weapon? I have a name. My name is Uchiha Hikari. Hearing the unfamiliar words spoken by the man, the girl named Uchiha Hikaru subconsciously retorted, and then tried to mobilize chakra to escape. Don't waste your efforts. This is your destiny. Another man stepped forward and stretched out a big black hand towards her head. The next second, the girl felt a sharp pain in her head, and all kinds of painful memories flooded into her mind. The loneliness after her parents died, the pain of being imprisoned by her clan members for research after opening the Mangekyo, the desolation of licking her wounds alone in the dungeon. Countless negative emotions poured into the girl's mind. The girl had a splitting headache at this time, and her brain was about to collapse under the impact of negative memories. The miserable cry resounded throughout the space. Before she was about to faint, she saw the people around her stretching out a pair of suffocating hands to her. Weapons don't need weak names. You still live as an unknown weapon. The name she shouted was denied, and the girl was left with only cold darkness in front of her. As the girl fainted again, the men standing beside her suddenly turned into a pool of soft black like ink, and slowly crawled in one direction. In the distance, Uchiha Yao, who witnessed all this, looked normal, with dull eyes, as if he had not seen the weird scene just now. The black shadow moved to Uchiha Yao's feet and strangely merged into his reflection. As the black shadow merged, Uchiha Yao seemed to be activated, and his eyes regained some brilliance. Dong dong dong. The door of the laboratory was knocked, and Uchiha In, who was standing outside the door, waited anxiously. Seeing that there was no response for a long time, the boy's eyes turned scarlet. The magatama in both eyes began to spin rapidly. Just when the black was about to merge together, the door of the laboratory was opened. Uchiha Yao stood at the door with a cold face, looking at the boy who was about to burst out in front of him with a scrutinizing look. Why are you in a hurry? It will be your turn soon. The original owner's life experience is about to be revealed. Kitty hereby kneels to thank all readers for following. M. Chapter 47 The Original Owner's Extra. What good things can possess people? You are listening at novelfull.audio. You old man, let Xiao Guang go. Uchiha Yao's abnormal behavior today made him feel unfamiliar, so he simply stopped calling him grandpa. The boy with red eyes stared at him, waiting for the master's command in his eyes. Uchiha Yao looked at the boy's expression of fearless death, thought for a while, turned sideways. Anyway, the experiment has come to an end, you can take her back. I didn't expect the other party to agree so straightforwardly. The boy frowned and put away the accumulated pupil power in his eyes. His eyes slowly returned to normal color. He looked at the other party vigilantly, but still stepped into the laboratory. As soon as Uchiha In entered the door, he saw Uchiha Guang lying on the bed in the middle of the laboratory. At this time, the girl was still unconscious. Uchiha In hurriedly approached and found that the girl's hands and feet were tied to the bed with belts. The girl's white joints were red and swollen after struggling, which made the boy feel distressed. Looking at the girl's face again, it was filled with pain he had never seen before. Her delicate eyebrows were tightly knitted, her breathing was disordered, and her cherry-like lips were tightly clenched at this time, as if she had dreamed of a terrible nightmare. What did you do to her? Although there was no serious external injury, the girl's extremely painful expression made Uchiha furious. It's just a simple emotional guidance. Uchiha still had that cold look, his eyes turned stiffly, and finally fixed on Uchiha. It will be your turn tomorrow. I hope you don't waste your energy and make some unnecessary struggles. Without answering Uchiha words, the boy pulled the belt that bound the girl with force, carried her on his back and walked out without looking back, leaving Uchiha alone to slowly blend into the shadow of the laboratory. Only half of his face was left under the light, and the only eye left flashed a trace of clarity, but as the shadow slowly covered, the whole person was finally buried in the shadow. Carrying the unconscious Uchiha walked very lightly all the way. The girl's rapid breathing never stopped, but she didn't seem to be awake, and he didn't know what kind of torture the girl had suffered. At this moment, he hated himself a little. Why didn't he protect the girl who grew up with him? If he could perfectly control his eyes, he could bring protection to the girl. Thinking of this, the boy clenched his fists, his nails pierced into the flesh, and a wisp of blood slowly flowed out from between his fingers. The day before, in the pile of documents in the clan land, Uchiha, who had been searching for a long time, raised his head. He always felt that Uchiha was not right today. According to his understanding, Uchiha was the ultimate scroll king who memorized all the documents of the entire family. How could he forget the cases recorded in the documents? Thinking of Uchiha who was sent away with him in the morning, the always alert Uchiha had some guesses in his heart. No, I must go back tomorrow. The clan's document storage is some distance away from the research institute. Now it's getting late, so we can only set off early tomorrow morning. When Uchiha returned to the research institute the next morning, he received the test report prepared by Uchiha in advance, which is the so-called war weapon plan. With this report, Uchiha went directly to Uchiha Tajima to seek his decision, so the beginning of the extra story appeared, and Uchiha asked to see Uchiha Tajima with the plan. Uchiha Jin, come out. Uchiha Jin, who had been guarding the girl's bed all night, raised his head woodenly and looked at the several strange adult men standing outside the door. What did you do to Xiaoguang? After a night, the unconscious girl still did not move. No matter what means Uchiha Jin used, he could not wake her up. He wanted to know what his grandfather did to this poor girl. If you want to know, follow us. One of the men with a cold face said. Uchiha and Uchiha were not there, and no one could help him. The boy glanced at the girl lying on the bed with a painful expression, knowing that he had no choice. Now he wanted to see what means the old guy Uchiha used. Let's go. The boy stood up with determination in his eyes, and followed the people waiting outside the door to the laboratory. After a while, Uchiha, who walked into the laboratory, found that Uchiha was writing furiously on the workbench. He was not surprised to see the boy coming, but lowered his head and continued to write a few strokes, nodded with satisfaction, and handed the document in his hand to a subordinate to send it away. Uchiha, what did you do to Xiaoguang yesterday? The boy, who felt ignored, asked with gritted teeth. I just want her to see her true destiny. Uchiha said something that made Uchiha confused. Don't play dumb with me. The other party's nonchalant attitude made him extremely annoyed. As his anger grew, Uchiha eyes began to turn red, and a cold atmosphere filled the entire laboratory for a while. Facing the aggressive boy, Uchiha remained indifferent. He looked carefully at Uchiha eyes and said thoughtfully. Don't be anxious. Let me ask you, has your eyesight deteriorated recently? Hearing Uchiha's question, Uchiha was stunned at first, then frowned and said. So what? Since the start of the combat test, every time he used the Mangekyo, Uchiha Jin felt that his vision had deteriorated. Sure enough. Hearing Uchiha Jin's answer, Uchiha nodded to himself, then waved his hand. You lie down on the bed first. You guy, don't talk to yourself. The Magatama in Uchiha Jin's eyes began to rotate slowly with the fluctuation of emotions. If you want to know what Wu Ming has experienced, you'd better cooperate obediently. The old man pinched Uchiha Jin's life gate. When the boy heard this, he was like a deflated ball. He lowered his head and walked over to lie on the bed where the girl lay yesterday. A strange man stood by the bed. After seeing Uchiha Jin lying down, he took out a syringe and injected a full syringe of unknown medicine into his body without waiting for the boy's reaction. The boy just wanted to resist, but he felt a strong drowsiness coming over him. His raised hand also fell down weakly, and he fell asleep in less than a few breaths. Several researchers came in with various test instruments installed on Uchiha Jin and began to test various data. Before conducting the experiment, the boy's physical data must be recorded clearly. Uchiha Wuming also did the same test yesterday. To be on the safe side, the researchers now tied his limbs with belts before starting the device to test. About an hour later, the leading researcher found Uchiha Yao. The body test of the experimental subject is complete, and there is no abnormal index. Okay, you go out, I will conduct the next test alone. The old man walked in without looking back. Yes. The other researchers quickly packed up the equipment and evacuated. Uchiha Yao walked to the bed and looked at the boy's sleeping face. A trace of nostalgia flashed in his eyes, but as a black air flashed in his eyes, the old man's eyes returned to the indifference just now. Uchiha Jin's Mangekyo consumes too much pupil power. Before he developed much, his eyesight began to decline. A strange voice sounded, and the old man did not turn around. It seemed that he was not unfamiliar with the person who spoke. Indeed, his eyes will not last until the day I planned. The little girl's eyes yesterday were relatively complete, and her ability was much stronger than this boy's. Use her. In the dark, a pure black figure slowly emerged from a pool of black ink. Wang Liang, even if you are my clone, don't make decisions for me. I have my own judgment. Hearing the advice of the voice in the dark, Uchiha Yao said in a deep voice. As your incarnation, I naturally know what you really think deep in your heart. The black shadow's eyes flashed with a strange light, and he said sincerely. Chapter 48 The Original Owners Extra. Even reckless men know how to wage information warfare. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Don't be too busy, just do what you should do. Uchiha Yao turned his head and looked at the black shadow that had turned into a human form. I'm really looking forward to the dark side of this kid. The black shadow let out a weird laugh, slowly approached the unconscious Uchiha Jin, stretched out a pitch-black hand and pressed it on the boy's head. At this moment, two figures broke into Uchiha Yao's laboratory. Uchiha Yao frowned when he saw the intruder from a distance. I thought it would take a while, but I didn't expect it to come so soon. Uchiha Tajima is no longer the indecisive boy he was before. His boss had already informed him of Uchiha Miao's return in advance, so in order to hold Uchiha Miao back, he drafted a plan for these two pairs of kaleidoscopes. This plan is of great importance, and the loyal Uchiha Miao will definitely ask Uchiha Tajima what he means as soon as possible. This would delay him a lot of time. But he didn't expect that his once indecisive disciple would become much more decisive after becoming the clan leader. Young Liang, the plan is terminated. You possess Uchiha Jin first and wait for my order before taking action. The existence of Ning Liang cannot be exposed, and his behavior will definitely cause Uchiha Tajima to separate himself from this research, and Uchiha Jin will also be protected. The black shadow did not hesitate and turned into a pool of black water and merged into Uchiha Jin's body. Uchiha Yao. The clan leader has given an order to stop the experiment. Uchiha Miao, carrying the chubby Uchiha Yen, rushed to Uchiha Yao and took out Uchiha Tajima's appointment letter. Why, didn't the patriarch feel moved when he saw my plan? Uchiha Yao turned his head and looked at his two clan brothers indifferently. There is no need for such a plan at this time. The clan leader appointed me to take over your research. The clan leader specifically ordered that you, Uchiha Yao, have been overworked recently. Please go home to recuperate for the time being. Uchiha Yen and the two looked at the indifferent Uchiha Yao with eager eyes, secretly on guard. This guy suddenly became violent in his life. You don't have to be nervous. Since it is the clan leader's order, I will obey it. Uchiha Yao looked at the two people who looked wary, shook his head, took off his research white coat, turned around and left the laboratory. Is it that simple? Uchiha and Miao looked at each other and felt that the other side retreated too easily. No matter what, let's send Uchiha Jin back first. The chubby Uchiha Yen looked at the unconscious Uchiha Jin and urged, unable to figure out what Uchiha Yao's intentions were. Uchiha Miao had to give up thinking and turn around to take the boy back to his lounge with Uchiha Yen. Uchiha Yao, who walked out of the research institute, turned around and took another look at the place where he had spent most of his life. Regret flashed in his eyes. It's a pity that everything here will soon be wiped out, together with this sinful family. Uchiha Yao murmured to himself, a crazy look appeared on his old face. Jin, in this world without you, there is no need to exist. As night fell, on a hillside dozens of miles away from the Uchiha clan, a disguised figure stood under the moonlight, as if waiting for something. Following a few small footsteps, several men walked out of the woods. They were all strong, their eyes filled with bloodthirsty aura, but their rough faces had strangely delicate eyebrows. It's incompatible with their temperament. Is it you who passed us the information? The leader with a Chinese character said arrogantly. That's right, the Uchiha clan changed its clan leader not long ago. The current clan leader is not a militant and advocates recuperating first. Therefore, the Uchiha clan has accumulated a lot of material wealth in the past few years. The figure hidden under the mask makes a voice that is neither male nor female, making it impossible to judge the age and identity of the other person. An act of cowardice, war is the only way to develop. Guizi said with disdain. You guy, why did you give us the defense map of the Uchiha clan? In the water country across the sea from the fire country, the Kagaya clan, who had just arrived and were fighting everywhere, suddenly received a piece of information. It contains detailed information about the Uchiha clan of the Land of Fire, and also thoughtfully includes a defense map of the Uchiha clan. This made the Kagaya clan, who didn't believe it, murmur. If they were allowed to win such a piece of fat, it would not only strengthen their strength, but also allow them to regain a foothold in the Land of Fire. The Kingdom of Water has poor supplies and inconvenient transportation. The islanders are very tough and have been in war all year round. Several families look eagerly at the Kingdom of Fire next door, often reaching out to test it out, thinking that one day they can go to the Kingdom of Water. Sure. Don't ask any more questions. Just think of me as an avenger. After hearing the question from the leader of the Kagaya clan, the figure in the darkness said slowly. Sneaky guy, even if you don't tell me, I can tell whether there is anything wrong with what you gave me. The leader of the Kagaya clan looked at the unidentified guy in front of them with contempt, and with a big move, from the crowd behind them, a man who was incompatible with them walked out, all because this man did not have the characteristic Maro eyebrows of others. This kid is a hybrid between our clan and Hyuga. He has awakened the blood inheritance and can detect the situation several kilometers away. I asked him to come here this time to verify whether the information you gave me is accurate. Patting the man on the shoulder, the leader of the Kagaya clan said coldly. If you dare to deceive us, you will die with all your bones pierced through your heart. Just like the Uzumaki clan in the land of Uzumaki and the Senju clan in the interior have marriages from time to time, the Kagaya clan has been in contact with the Hyuga clan for many years since ancient times, and there are marriages from time to close the relationship. The ordinary man who came out was a hybrid between their clan and Hinata. Although they did not awaken the powerful corpse veins of their clan, they did awaken the mutated Byakugan. The normal eyes do not have white pupils like the Hyuga clan. At first glance, he is just an ordinary ninja. Kagaya Takuya, go and check whether the Uchiha's defenses ahead are the same as what is reported in the intelligence. The man whose name was called nodded immediately, got up and sneaked into the periphery of the Uchiha clan. White eyes, open. Halfway through, the man raised his hand to make a seal, and his originally dark pupils turned pure white, but the veins on his temples were not exposed like those of the Hyuga clan. However, although they are called white eyes, his eyes are not very pure white eyes. They only have the function of seeing far, which may be related to his impure blood. However, relying on this ability, he is also quite popular among the clan. After all, there are not many ninjas with investigative abilities in this era, especially the Taijutsu ninja clan like the Kagaya clan, who need more information about the enemy's location in battle. Kagaya Takuya opened his mutated Byakugan and saw the Uchiha outpost camp a few miles away from him. He scanned the people in the camp with his eyes, counted them secretly, and then went around to another direction to continue reconnaissance. On the hillside, the Kagaya clan and the mysterious man were still confronting each other. With the return of Kagaya Takuya, the atmosphere between the two parties reached a freezing point. Takuya, how's the reconnaissance going? Captain Sosuke, after my reconnaissance, the defensive layout of the Uchiha clan's perimeter is consistent with the intelligence. Kagaya Takuya, who rushed back out of breath, reported to the Chinese-faced Kagaya Sosuke that maintaining a white eye was also very draining of energy. Ha 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 ha, God help me. Kagaya Sosuke, who had verified that the information was true, laughed, lowered his head and looked at the mysterious man who had been silent in front of him. It seems that you really have a deep hatred for the Uchiha clan, but don't worry, after tonight, there will be no more Uchiha in this world. Chapter 49 The Original Owners Extra, Driving a Car Secretly is Really Exciting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The mysterious man waited until the Kagaya clan finished checking the information, turned around and disappeared into the night, and the Kagaya clan did not stop him. After all, in their eyes, this sneaky guy is just a poor guy who can't rely on his own strength to seek revenge. Under the moonlight, the mysterious man took off his disguise. His old face looked very pale under the moonlight, and the scarlet in his eyes slowly faded. Uchiha Yao recalled the Kagaya clan he had just come into contact with. These brainless lunatics can just be my cover. When they get into trouble with the Uchiha clan, I can take action. Ah-in, wake up quickly. Feeling the moisture on his face, Uchiha Jin slowly opened his eyes, and what he saw was a slender girl crying with pear blossoms in her eyes. Her tears flowed down her cheeks and dripped on his face, thirsty. He subconsciously stuck out his tongue and licked the water stains at the corner of his mouth, salty, sweet. Seeing Uchiha Jin wake up, the girl rushed into his arms like a forest, buried her head in the boy's chest, and said with a cry. Oh, I had a very strange dream. You were not in the dream. I was so scared to be alone. Uchiha Jin, whose body was still a little stiff, just supported his body and let the girl sob in his arms. He reached out a hand and gently stroked the girl's black hair. It's okay, I will always be by your side. Really? That the girl whose nose was red from crying raised her head and looked into Uchiha Jin's eyes with reddish eyes, as if confirming something. Of course, haven't you always said that you only have me? If I don't take care of you, who will take care of you? That he patted the girl's little head and motioned for her to get up. Ha, who said that? I can do it without you. The girl, who realized that her actions were a little too intimate, immediately jumped up, tilted her head and pouted in defense. Okay, you two guys, stop making love to each other here, it will make our two old guys' teeth sore. The chubby Uchiha Yen teased. Only then did Uchiha Jin realize that Uchiha Miao and Uchiha Yen, who had been sent away, were actually back. Where's that old guy? Thinking of Uchiha Yao, who behaved strangely, the young man asked anxiously. The clan leader has given an order not to allow him to continue to participate in your research. You can rest assured. The lean Uchiha Miao at the side explained. Do you have any discomfort, such as your eyes, brain, etc.? After hearing Uchiha Miao's words, Uchiha Jin immediately told him about his vision loss, and Uchiha Hikari told Uchiha Miao about the weapons mentioned by Uchiha Miao's men. Weapon? Hearing this unfamiliar word for the first time, Uchiha Jin looked at Uchiha Miao with some doubts. The other party sighed and took out the document about the war weapons plan. The young man glanced briefly, frowned and said. Did that old guy take the wrong medicine? He actually wants to train me and light into unconscious war weapons? Here, Uchiha Tajima returned to the mansion alone after rejecting the war weapons plan compiled by Uchiha Miao. His wife, who had just given birth to twins, was breastfeeding her infant baby, with a younger child sleeping next to her. In this era when family planning was not taken seriously, all ninja clans believed in having more children, and population represented combat power. Looking at his wife and children, Uchiha Tajima's cold eyes softened. Thanks a lot. Uchiha Tajima sat on the edge of the couch and carefully touched his wife's weak body. It's okay, where are Madara and Izuna? Uchiha Tajima's wife is a gentle and virtuous woman. Although she is the daughter of the previous clan leader, she does not like fighting. Her weak and gentle personality complements the fierce and strong Uchiha Tajima, so the two have an amazingly loving relationship. They have reached the age of fighting. I let them stay in the training room for a while to hone their temperament. The eldest son Uchiha Madara and the second son Uchiha Izuna are already able to go to the battlefield to participate in small-scale battles. Uchiha Tajima asked them to suffer more in his hands, so that they could suffer less injuries on the battlefield. Oh, I haven't recovered yet. After hearing that the two sensible children were taken away by their husband, the woman lying on the couch said with a charming and shy face, and her voice became more and more sticky. Who do you think I, Uchiha Tajima, am? The patriarch raised his hand to restrain his impulsive brother and scolded him righteously. The Uchiha tribe was peaceful in the night, and the patrol team conscientiously patrolled the area around the tribe according to the route. The dark night did not affect the Uchiha clan with dynamic vision. As the route was coming to an end, several patrol members also relaxed their vigilance. Swish swish. A very fast whooshing sound was heard in the jungle, and the patrol member at the front fell to the ground, with splashes of blood blooming on his body. Enemy attack. When the alarm was sounded, a soaring flame rose into the air, and then exploded. The remaining team members quickly drew their weapons, opened their scarlet eyes, and rushed forward without hesitation, trying to buy time for the tribesmen behind them. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of figures emerged from the dark night. The Kagaya clan, each with a ferocious look and exuding a bloodthirsty aura, rushed towards them like hungry wolves. The patrol team of several people disappeared into the madness as soon as they met each other, flooding into the sea, leaving behind mutilated limbs everywhere. The breath of death, like an invisible big hand, slowly enveloped the quiet and peaceful Uchiha clan. The bored Uchiha Jin was lying on the bed in the laboratory, counting the stars in the sky outside the window. Suddenly, the boy saw a ray of fire lighting up in the darkness in the distance, which was the unique warning signal of the Uchiha clan. Looking at the fire that symbolized enemy attack in disbelief, the young man turned over and ran out of the lounge without hesitation. At this time, the research institute was already in chaos, the guards were gathering, and the incompetent researchers were busy collecting information. The young man who had no time to care about these ran to a door and knocked hard. Dong dong dong. As the boy hammered hard, the door opened. The sleepy girl hugged a pillow, rubbed her eyes and yawned. What happened again? Hurry up and find a place to hide. Someone is attacking the tribe. The boy didn't have time to care about whether men and women were intimate, so he grabbed the girl and ran out. Where are you taking me? The girl, who was still in a dazed state, was pulled by the boy and ran all the way. I ran all the way to the entrance of the research institute, where a round figure directed the guards to assemble. When I saw the young girl running out, I quickly shouted. Why are you running out? Go back quickly. The institute is much safer than outside. Uchiha Yen had just received news from the peripheral tribesmen that a group of unidentified people were heading towards the tribe at an extremely fast speed, accurately attacking all patrols and secret posts along the way, catching them off guard. Let Xiaoguang go to a safe place, and I will go to fight the enemy. Uchiha Jin protected the girl behind him and patted his chest towards Uchiha Yen. His scarlet eyes looked at Uchiha Yen without any fear. I can fight too. You are not needed in this situation, just stay here. Uchiha Yen smiled angrily. Although these enemies were coming fiercely, it was not a life-or-death moment for the Uchiha clan. Their clan has existed for thousands of years, and if such an attack could wipe out the entire clan, they would have ceased to exist long ago. Chapter 50. The original owner's extra. The most annoying thing is when someone steals the cryst. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'll go find my uncle, he will definitely let me go. After that, Uchiha Jin took the girl and ran out of the research institute without looking back. Uchiha Yen had too many things at hand, so he did not stop her. Be careful. Along the way, all the houses were brightly lit, and the Uchiha tribesmen who were able to fight all put on their battle armor, took out the weapons from the bottom of the box, and walked out of the house aggressively, hoping to show off this ignorant enemy. Lord Clan Leader, the enemy has broken through our 3 lines of defense and is about to invade the clan territory. An Uchiha in black reported to Uchiha Tajima, who was changing into battle clothes. Why so fast? What's going on with the patrol? Hearing that the enemy was approaching the city, Uchiha Tajima, who had changed his clothes, asked. The enemy seems to be very aware of our defenses. The tribesmen at the sentry point were attacked by the enemy before they had time to react. The black-clothed Uchiha lowered his head and said. We just rested for a while, but some people actually thought that we were no longer good and dared to openly attack us. It has always been only us Uchiha who attack people. Uchiha Tajima waved his hand and said coldly. Let me see who ate the heart of a bear and the gall of a leopard. After Uchiha Tajima's order was passed on, Uchiha Yen led hundreds of elite tribesmen with open eyes to wait at the gate of the clan. After Uchiha Tajima arrived, he looked around the tribe, and then shouted. Anyone who offends our Uchiha will die or live. Those who offend our Uchiha are subject to death or life. Those who offend our Uchiha are subject to death or life. Those who offend our Uchiha are subject to death or life. The slogans shouted by hundreds of people were deafening, and a cold murderous aura emanated from the cold clan members. Uchiha Tajima looked at his clan members with satisfaction. Let's go. Face the enemy head-on. Clan leader, the enemy is using the bloodline boundary. According to the information sent back from the front, the opponent should be the Kagaya clan who has fled to the Kingdom of Water. On the way, the chubby Uchiha Yen reported to Uchiha Tajima in a low voice that Uchiha Yen's seemingly clumsy body was actually able to keep up with the powerful Uchiha Tajima without falling behind at all. Those lunatics. They actually took such a long detour to attack us. Recalling the information about the Kagaya clan, Uchiha Tajima issued a soul torture. I don't know. It doesn't matter, it's not too late to interrogate them after defeating them. Uchiha Tajima was not worried that he would lose. Although he did not want to admit it, for thousands of years, there was only one Mori Senju who could rival their clan. The Uchiha clan led by Uchiha Tajima and the Kagaya clan collided head-on, and the battlefield of hundreds of people instantly burst into smoke. It's not that the Uchiha clan who are proficient in fire escape and illusion are not good at taijutsu, it's just because the other two are too good. So the taijutsu is not that outstanding. For a moment, the battlefield was filled with flames and bones and blood flew everywhere. The crazy Kagaya clan relied on life-for-life fighting methods, barely holding back the rhythm of the battle. Watching the Kagaya clan's Uchiha Tajima, who had no hesitation in exchanging injuries for injuries, suddenly something feels wrong. Elder Yen, have you seen the strong person on the other side? In such a large-scale attack, the Kagaya clan did not send out its top combat forces, just some cannon fodder struggling here. It seems not. Enemies of this level shouldn't be able to break into our hinterland so easily. Uchiha Yen, who is good at combat, also found that something was not right about the other party. Not good. The two people seemed to have thought of something, their expressions changed dramatically, and they simultaneously turned to look at the tribe in the distance. The next second, a blazing fire rose in the quiet clan land, illuminating the face of Uchiha Tajima in the distance, which was particularly impressive. Not long ago, when Uchiha Tajima led the elite to attack the Kagaya clan, dozens of black shadows quietly lurked in from the other side of the clan territory. The leader of the group is Kagaya Sosuke, who has a Chinese character face. The man standing next to him is a hybrid between his clan and Hinata, Kagaya Takuya. Ha, you can sneak in so easily. Kagaya Sosuke excitedly looked at the unattended door in front of him, laughed wildly and said, turning to look at Kagaya Takuya beside him. Takuya, you have done a great job in infiltrating this time. When I get back, I will report it to the clan leader and ask for a reward for you. Thank you, elder. As a mixed blood, Kagaya Takuya was often discriminated against within his clan. If he hadn't awakened the mutated Byakugan blood successor, he would have become a slave of the pure-blood Kagaya clan. This attack relied on his Byakugan to bypass multiple secret sentries. These achievements were enough for him to gain a foothold in the clan. "How did you get here?" The mysterious man appeared quietly from the darkness again, as if he had been waiting for a long time. "Humph, don't waste time, tell us the secret location of the Uchiha clan and the hiding place of important people." Seeing the mysterious person in contact, Kagaya Sosuke urged him unceremoniously. The mysterious man took out a simple map from his body, with several locations marked with red crosses. After throwing the map to Kagaya Sosuke, the mysterious man said quietly, "I hope you guys will hurry up, I can't wait to see Uchiha Tajima's pained expression." Kagaya Sosuke opened the map. Most of the places marked with red crosses were important places such as granaries, weapons depots, material warehouses, and research institutes. But the largest one among the red crosses was marked with the clan chief's mansion. "Ha, I really don't know what Uchiha Tajima did to you to make you hate him so much." Seeing the highlighted clan leader's residence, Kagaya Sosuke had a trace of doubt on his bloodthirsty face. "It has nothing to do with you." The mysterious man lowered his head, said 4 words coldly, and then merged into the darkness without looking back. "Little ones, let's go, let's make a big fuss next." Kagaya Sosuke handed the map to Kagaya Takuya beside him, raised his arms, and led dozens of elite warriors under his command, rushing into the weakly defended Uchiha clan like wolves into a flock of sheep, and started their killing spree. The mysterious man standing in the darkness took off his disguise, his eyes glowing with darkness. Seeing the bloody storm caused by the Kagaya clan, the old Uchiha Yao took out a jar filled with liquid. Inside were a pair of eyes that emitted a faint red light. Uchiha Yao, who was stroking the glass, murmured in a low voice, "Jean, let me show you how the murderer gets the punishment he deserves." On the other side, 2 thin figures were running on the quiet streets of the Uchiha clan. The usual lights of the houses were dark at the moment. "In, where are you taking me?" The girl who was carried away by the boy inexplicably asked in a daze. "Go to my uncle's place. It's absolutely safe." Uchiha Jin knew that his uncle's house must still be guarded by guards at the moment, and it would be the safest place to place the girl there. While the two were talking, they arrived at a magnificent mansion. Before they could knock on the door, several black shadows stood in front of them like ghosts. "The clan leader has ordered that idlers are not allowed to enter." The leader, the black-clad Uchiha, had red eyes and looked at them expressionlessly, his lowered hand faintly pressing on the saber at his waist. "I am Uchiha Jin, you have met me." The man in black in front of him was one of his uncle's personal guards. Uchiha Jin was not familiar with him, but he had met him several times. "The patriarch has gone to the front line." The black-clothed Uchiha glanced at Uchiha Jin with a scrutinizing eye and spoke. "Ah. We've already set off." After learning that his uncle had gone to the battlefield, Uchiha Jin patted his head in annoyance, and then said, "Can you let my friend go in and take shelter?" With that said, Uchiha Jin pushed the confused girl out. Chapter 51 The original owner's extra story. The relatives who helped me were particularly kind. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No, the clan leader has ordered that no one can enter. The black-clad Uchiha is selfless. Don't do this. Uchiha Jin was in a panic right now. There was chaos outside, and he was worried about leaving the girl alone in the research institute. "Sorry, if you keep messing around, I will have to follow the rules." The black-clothed Uchiha said as he slowly pulled out the sword from his waist. "Let them in." The door of the mansion was suddenly opened, and Uchiha Tajima's wife walked out with a tired face. "Hello, Aunt." When Uchiha Jin saw the person coming, he ran over quickly, said hello to the woman with a smile, then turned to the girl and shouted, "Come here quickly to meet your aunt." The girl walking over looked at the strange woman in front of her and said nervously, "Hello, Madam Chief. You are the Xiaoguang that Ayin always talks about. Don't call me so harsh. Just call me Aunt like Ayin." Uchiha Tajima's wife, seeing her eldest nephew with a young girl, no matter how stupid she is, she can still understand the relationship between the two. Auntie, I won't go in. The boy who placed the girl with Uchiha Tajima's wife refused her invitation to enter the house. I'm going to the front line. I can definitely help with Uncle's side. After saying that, without waiting for Uchiha Tajima's wife to stay, Uchiha Jin gave the girl a reassuring gesture and disappeared into the night. I hope it's not too late. The young man running on the street prayed in his heart, and the strength under his feet further increased, and he ran towards the gate of the clan like wind. Suddenly, a chilling air hit his face, and Uchiha Jin stopped unconsciously, staring at the corner ahead. The next moment, I saw several strange men in black walking out from the corner. Their faces were all covered with blood, but their expressions were not of fear, but rather filled with bloodthirsty aura. Who are you? That the young man who had met the other party was the first to ask. From the strange appearance of these people, he judged that the other party was definitely not his tribe. At this point in time, he could only be an enemy. Thinking like this, the boy started to activate his chakra, his nerves became highly tense, and his eyes gradually turned scarlet. There's another kid here. The leading man looked at the thin young man in front of him and couldn't help laughing. After saying that, several people gathered around him with clenched fists. Since we are enemies, I won't be polite. The young man surrounded by several people who were watching him was unusually calm. After turning on his Sharingan, he could clearly sense that the strength of the people in front of him was not weaker than that of ordinary combatants, and they were at least at the level of a squad leader. The young man raised his head and showed a bright smile. Feeling that the despised people raised their casserole-sized fists, they struck straight at the young man who had nowhere to escape with overwhelming momentum. Kill him! Not just before several people were about to hammer the young man in front of them into a pulp, several fists were frozen just a few centimeters in front of the young man's eyes. The leading man's face was flushed at this moment, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not move his fist even an inch. Genjutsu Sharingan. Several people felt that their whole bodies were as if they were filled with lead and could not move. The young man did not hesitate. He fired another Sharingan Genjutsu and knocked out all the others except the leading man. Then he stared at the only man who was still awake. Activate your pupils to hypnotize the opponent. The hypnotized man's face was dull, and he stood there obediently, waiting for Uchiha Jin's response. Who are you? We are ninjas from the Kagaya clan. The man who claimed to be from the Kagaya clan answered without any hesitation. What is your purpose? Occupy the Uchiha clan's land and capture important members of the Uchiha clan. The man from the Kagaya clan answered truthfully. After hearing this, Uchiha Jin immediately lost his composure. The other party actually wanted to steal the house and was planning to use hostages as a threat. How many of you are there and who is your leader? Uchiha Jin wants to know how many people have sneaked in. Now the combat power of the clan has basically been mobilized away from the mountain. There are only 10 people left behind. If the other party succeeds, it will be a disaster for the Uchiha clan. There are 80 of us who have sneaked in, led by Elder Kagaya Sosuke. There are 80 ninjas from the Kagaya clan who can be sent on a mission to steal homes, so their strength is definitely not too weak. Where have they all gone? Uchiha Jin, who wanted to know the specific whereabouts of these 80 people, asked quickly. Granaries, weapons depots, material depots, research institutes and the clan chief's residence. The controlled Kagaya clan reported the names of several places, which made Uchiha Jin take a breath. These places are the lifeblood of the Uchiha clan, especially the clan leader's mansion. No. Xiaoguang is still there. Thinking of Uchiha Hikaru, who was placed in the clan leader's mansion by him not long ago, the young man felt his heart tighten. Without any intention of further questioning, he waved a few kunai and sent the intruders to the west. In this situation, it's too late to find Uchiha Tajima. I just hope that the other party can detect the conspiracy of the Kagaya clan early. The only thought in his mind now is to rush back to the patriarch's mansion to protect his aunt, Xiaoguang, and others. Without further ado, Uchiha Jin set off immediately and set foot on the streets of the Uchiha camp again. The scene was no longer as peaceful as it was during the day. Many ordinary people from the Uchiha clan fell in a pool of blood, their lives and deaths unknown. It was the first time for Uchiha Jin to see such a tragic scene, and he was a little breathless. The pungent smell of blood made him feel nauseous. He endured the discomfort of his body and rushed to the clan leader's mansion, which he had just left. At this time, the sound of bells was heard outside the clan leader's mansion. The leader, Kagaya Sosuke, was confident of victory and commanded his men to fight with the guards led by the black-clothed Uchiha. When Uchiha Jin arrived, most of the guards had been killed or injured. The black-clothed Uchiha was still struggling with red eyes and scars on his body. He found that it was not the reinforcements but the young man Uchiha Jin who was waiting for him. He was shocked and revealed a flaw. He was hit hard by the strange white weapons wielded by the Kagaya clan and flew away, falling to the ground unconscious. "Ha ha ha, is the reinforcement you are talking about this little kid who is still wet behind the ears?" Kagaya Sosuke, who was watching the show on the side, laughed and looked at the boy who had just arrived, mocking him. Uchiha Jin looked around and found that the group of people had not yet entered the clan leader's mansion. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and then his eyes became serious. Judging from the breath of the Hyuga clan member who was speaking in front of him, he was a tough guy. Uchiha Jin, who didn't dare to be arrogant, worked hard to stimulate his pupil power. The Magatama in his eyes began to slowly rotate, and a cold chakra filled the air. Even the Hyuga clan members who were not sensitive could see the clues. Amaterasu. This kid is not simple, take action quickly. Seeing that something was wrong, Hyuga Sosuke immediately gave an order, and the surrounding Hyuga clan members rushed forward. It was too late. Before they touched the corner of the boy's clothes, a black flame suddenly appeared on the bodies of the few people who rushed in front, and they could not be extinguished no matter what. In the end, the Hyuga clan members who were contaminated by the flames were burned to ashes alive. The black flame lost its carrier but did not extinguish, and continued to burn on the ground, which was extremely bright.